from Jennifer, if one person wants to take this, are you able to explain sampling to me, please? Who would like to run with that? So Laura, that was probably precipitated from your comment.
Yes, yeah, I think that was. It's really, that is what reflected, that is a description in human design of what reflectors do, where they take in the qualities of the energy of what's around them. So if they're meeting a person, or and that comes in at any level. It's not, you know, you can feel, you know, it can be, it's felt in a different, depending on the nature of the sample, and there's no really predicting it, and you kind of just stumble across it. And I don't really know, I mean, if there wouldn't be any, if I was just on my own in my PHS, I don't think I'd be sampling. I would be getting the cosmic stream. I think that's right. But I think as a, but so I'd still, there'd be some kind of but that's something different. But it's, yeah. I mean, I don't know what, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's often, it arrives like that. It arrives like a parcel in totality. And so but the good thing is it can pass as well. It'd be passed along. Nice. If you realize what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's, I guess that's the expression they say, the Teflon aura, is being able to, like I said, sample it, but not necessarily take it on, and as long as you understand how that works.
Yeah, and that's
right? And being able to get rid of that energy.
Because if you don't realize that it's not you, which I think we're that's why I showed the picture of me when I was younger, you know, you just don't know what's hit you, and God knows no one else around you knows what's going on. And you know, it takes years, it can take, and of course sometimes there can be something that is important within the sample which makes it even more confusing, and even more, you know, whether it's conditioning or something that you really are. So it is, I don't think I know how to, maybe somebody else will say something about, because they can sample better than me. I don't know.
Aisling, yes, jump on in.
I was just going to say, so when I started working for myself, I started off as a therapist, and people would come with very strong emotions, and I kept thinking that I was in fear when I was working with the clients, and then I'd make myself wrong, like, why am I in fear? Like, I need to get myself out of the way. One of the techniques I used was tapping. So I used to train and go back to more and more training, and I still used to get anxiety, is what I labeled it, every time I went to the tapping training. I think the tapping helped to reduce it because I wasn't attaching to it, but it would still happen. And it wasn't until I realized that I was a reflector. Obviously, every time I'm going to this training thing with people who all have anxiety, who are trying to tap on their anxiety, obviously I'm going to take a sample of it. So I think I like what Stephanie said earlier about, and for anybody who is a reflector, it's like really deep down, you do know what's right for you. It might be all covered up and mixed up, but you do know, and probably just making it wrong. But so there was me trying to, I feel with human design, it can save you like having to work on yourself and all of this stuff. It's like, oh, I got there with the tapping. I got to the point where I could sit there and feel it and know that I'm still okay. But then when I had the human, like, that would have been a real shortcut for me to know it. So it felt like it was me. I was identifying with it. That's where the conditioning and the labeling came in. And obviously trying to get rid of it and all this thing, which I didn't really need to do, and just let it. So, and my sense with clients, like, we just have an innate ability. I don't really know if we've got a choice, that we just see the highest potential of anybody in front of us. And for me, the way I use the word see to say that, because I'm not sure how else to say it. But when they are in distress, then I get a sample of that, and I can feel what they're feeling. And how those two things can be simultaneous, and that doesn't make the person any less in my experience of them, and I feel that gets fed back to them. So Yeah, and the Teflon aura should just say as well, because so we're not as influenced as you might think with all those open centers because of the Teflon aura. But what the neutrino stream comes straight through the aura into so we're more impacted by the planets than other people, but we are not. We don't need to be overwhelmed by those emotions, and that can make it very powerful for people to be with us, because we're not going to freak out once we know what's going on. So.
And that's very worthwhile to mention for people. And when you're talking about the neutrino stream and being impacted by the planets, the lunar cycle is known to impact you greatly, but do you also feel like a very strong impact of the other planets in their rotation, or is it really mostly around the moon, or how does that?
For me, I think actually Stephanie and I have been working together weekly, learning our quantum alignment system together. So we tend to, sometimes after the session, we look at the transits and see, and we often have been talking about something that's in the transits. So I can see the impact, not just of the moon, but the strongest ones that I have are where the moon hooks up with a channel. I've got the three manifestor channels I get during my months. And I have like emotional channels, like the 39, I've got gate 55, and when the moon goes through 39, 39, 55, I feel that. So yeah, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think the ones that I definitely notice are the ones, for me, the emotional channels, which is when the moon is there. And often the girl who did my human design, she had gate 45 and so did I. And often we had appointments on a day when the moon was in gate 21. So it's the money channel, and I'm paying her and she's receiving money. So I do think that I can see the impact of other planets as well as the moon. But for me personally, because it has the emotional channels, I can really feel those ones.
Awesome. Thank you. Stephanie, did you have anything to add to that? Because I'm just, if you've been working together, I'm just wondering if you've been also experiencing some of that as well.
Yeah, this is all new to me, so it's thrilling to see that what I would normally tune into and be aware of the changeability of life, and something's important and it just disappears, that the planets reflected and the gates, it's just made me be very appreciative of the bigness. And then this system has come through that's so multi-layered and so detailed. And I love the energy of the planets. Like in olden times, the gods were the planets, and it was about downloading the gods. And that's what, so I love the days of the planets, and there's certain colors, and there's energies and invocations and evocations to download the planets. And I didn't realize that that's what we do as reflectors. We actually embody the planets, and we bring the gods down closer to walk amongst us. Everything about life is just so gobsmacking. It's like, wow. Sometimes there are just no words. But when a system comes along to put words beneath the mysticism of life and keeps removing the veils, it's very humbling to see the behind the scenes of life. Yeah, I talk and I don't really know what I'm saying, but that's what just occurred.
But it sounds so beautiful. I'm all ears. I'm listening to that. It's and I just wanted to say, you have such a calming voice. I mean, it's just like, wow. And you just have such beautiful words. I am a lover of words, and almost making the intangible tangible with words. Karen Curry Parker says words create, and I'm a big believer in that. I actually came up with something myself to remind myself of the language that I use in my own head when I speak. My little saying was words matter, but hers was words create, and I'm like, actually, yes, that's completely it. So,
well, if you think about the Bible, like in the beginning was the Word. It's like we're continually, with every fiber of us, interacting with life and making something from the nothingness, that we are continually creating and discreating. It's and I love words. Sometimes I don't know what the words actually mean, and if I'm talking with a client, it's like, I'm hearing this, I'm not too sure what the word means, and even the feel of words in my mouth, I have to use that word because it's so juicy, and it just has an energy to be placed, like to have the biggest impact. Even if I don't know what it feels like, it's the word has jumped in to be used to be of service, because everything wants to be part of that creative process. Nature, birds, spiders, everything is evolving and growing and learning about itself, including words. You know, there's nothing that doesn't have life in it.
That was awesome. And I'm not the only one. There was somebody who actually posted, "I'm listening intently" as you were speaking. So definitely have a resonance there. Thank you. Laura, you had something to add to Ashling's comments.
Hi, yes. So I just, one of the things was, Ash, you said about seeing people's highest potential. And I have actually been considering, and I realized that it's possible that the word I would use is sampling. So I don't know whether that's a little thing. And then as this conversation about the following the transits, my juiciest transits are where a planet and the moon come in together. It's so that it's really my favorite. Life is really good then.
Love it. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Laura.